Their source of urine, you've heard, is far more organized than yours. They don't just rely on the public latrine. The Fullers, in a stunning example of entrepreneurship, would place large ceramic pots, called amphorae, on the street corners. Citizens would urinate into these pots throughout the day. It was a kind of ancient public service, a way to keep the streets a little cleaner while providing the Fullers with their essential raw material. These amphorae were collected daily by slaves and brought back to the workshop, where the contents were allowed to ferment, to ripen in the sun until the urea had fully converted to the most potent, most cleansing ammonia. And it's a system that, while revolting to contemplate, is a marvel of efficiency. As you wait, you toss a small joke to yourself. Why did the ancient Greek laundry master always have a good story to tell? Because he had to soak up the local gossip. It's a terrible joke, but it brings a small smile to your tired face. The sun is warm on your back, and the rhythmic sound of your neighbor's wife grinding grain fills the air. You are a small cog in a large machine, a machine that never stops turning. You stir from a deep, dreamless sleep. The first rays of the Athenian sun streaming in through the small, unglassed window of your home. A fine dust motes dance in the golden light, illuminating the simplicity of your surroundings. Your bed is nothing more than a wooden frame strung with leather thongs, topped with a wool mattress and a single, heavy blanket. As you push yourself up, you're immediately aware of the day's first sensation, the weight and texture of your chiton. It's the simple tunic that serves as your primary garment, and it has seen better days. It's not a light, airy thing like you might imagine. No, this chiton is made of heavy, homespun wool, and after weeks of wear, it feels more like a second skin, a slightly stiff, unyielding one that carries the faint, sour-sweet memory of your last visit to the fish market. You have heard a particularly interesting, and frankly, a bit gross, detail about a common household cleaning method. For particularly stubborn stains on linen garments, people would sometimes resort to a different kind of lixivium. Instead of wood ash, they would use a more concentrated source of live human or animal feces. They would mix the feces with water, allow it to ferment, and then use the resulting ammonia-rich concoction to spot treat stains. It's a method that makes you shudder to think about. A desperate measure for a desperate stain. You are grateful that your hymation is not that soiled. You remember the crocodile dung sunscreen that you used to use, and you think that maybe, just maybe, this isn't so bad after all. You run your hand over the fabric, feeling the coarse fibers catch against your skin. This is the truth of life in ancient Greece. While the philosophers talk of ideals and the poets sing of beauty, your reality is a garment that smells of sweat, stale olive oil, and the ever-present dust of the agora. The central marketplace where you spend your days. It's a testament to your hard work. Yes, but also a growing problem that can no longer be ignored. The wool, which was a creamy white when it was first woven, now has a distinct yellowed patina. You sigh, a long, tired breath that feels like it's been building for days. Today, you decide, is the day. It's time to face the monumental, back-breaking, and utterly disgusting task of washing your clothes. The question of how widespread this particular method was is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about whether it was a common practice or a last resort for the most stubborn stains. Did every household have a pot of fermented feces for their laundry? Or was it a regional quirk, a strange, localized solution to a universal problem? The truth, you suspect, is lost to the sands of time. But you know that you are not going to be using that method today. You are a man of simple dignity, and you will stick to wood ash. Your chiton is a deceptively simple garment. A large rectangle of cloth folded and pinned at the shoulders with bronze fibulae. You undo one of the pins, a small, satisfying click, and the fabric falls away from your shoulder. You cinch it at your waist with a simple leather belt, a zona, and let the excess fabric fall in graceful folds around your knees. This simplicity is part of its genius. You can move freely, whether you're working in the fields or haggling over the price of a terracotta pot. It's the original one-size-fits-all, before one-size-fits-all became a euphemism for it won't fit you. After a long soak, you carefully remove your hymation from the lixivium. The water is now a murky brown, and the distinct smoky smell of the wood ash fills the air. You rinse the garment repeatedly, using bucket after bucket of fresh water from the well. You have to be meticulous, or the lye will remain in the fibers, and the hymation will feel stiff and scratchy against your skin. You hang the hymation next to your chiton, a heavy, dark blue testament to your hard work. The two garments, one a lighter, cleaner white, and the other a darker, richer blue, hang side by side, a visual representation of your day's labor. Over your chiton, you have your hymation, a heavier wool cloak. It's draped artfully over your left shoulder and wrapped around your body. A vital piece of clothing for those cool Athenian nights or chilly mornings. It's also where you've stashed a few things you need, as it has a makeshift pocket created by the folds. The hymation is even heavier than your chiton, and you can feel its weight on your shoulders as you begin to walk out into the day. The smell, you realize it is even more concentrated here. You've got that signature Athenian bouquet going on. A little bit of body odor, a little bit of street dust, and a whole lot of... I've been wearing this for 2 weeks. Your smaller linen garments are next. These are simple, unadorned pieces of fabric, and you can afford to be a bit more aggressive with them. You place them in a smaller pot, cover them with the lixivium, and then you add something a little more abrasive, a handful of coarse sand. The sand will act as a kind of ancient scouring pad, working its way into the fibers and helping to loosen the dirt. You stir the mixture with a stick, agitating the linen and the sand, a gentle churning motion that is far less violent than the stomping of your feet. The social pressure to keep these clothes, if not sparkling, then at least presentable, is real. You're not a member of the elite, the aristocratic class who can afford fine linen and a full-time staff of slaves to attend to their every need. You are a regular citizen, a demotes, and your appearance matters. It dictates how you are perceived in the agora, how people greet you on the street, and how you are treated in the city's various public spaces. A clean chiton signals a certain level of respectability and order. Even if the methods to achieve it are far from orderly, this is a method that would not be used on your valuable chiton or himation. But for these simple linen cloths, it's perfect. The linen is a tougher fiber than wool, and it can stand up to the abrasion. You can feel the dirt and grime coming off, a gritty sensation that is both satisfying and a little gross. You think about the sheer amount of work that goes into a simple thing like clean clothes. It's a task that is never-ending, a part of your life that is as constant as the rising and setting of the sun. You look at your hands, red and raw from the work, and you feel a sense of pride. You are not a wealthy man, but you are a capable one. You head to the well, the communal hub where the women of your neighborhood gather to collect water. The sun is higher now, and the chatter of your neighbors fills the air. It's here, as you draw a bucket of cool, fresh water from the stone-lined well, that the full scale of your task dawns on you. This isn't a quick trip to the laundromat. There is no convenient detergent pod to toss in with the load. You have to create your own solution, and you'll have to do it by hand. This is a battle of will against grime, and you're starting to think it's a fight you're probably going to lose. The sun is beginning to set, and the light in your courtyard is turning a soft, golden orange. Your garments are still damp, but they are clean. You have done all you can for now. The long day of backbreaking, stomach-churning laundry is over. You have faced the grime, you have faced the stink, and you have won. You have your chiton, clean and respectable, and your hymation, a little less dirty and a little more dignified. You have earned your rest. You can almost feel yourself drifting off to sleep, a deep, tired sleep that will be a little bit more comfortable now that your clothes are clean. As you look at the bucket of water, a single common historical fact comes to mind for people like you. The chiton was the most essential piece of clothing. It wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity, often made by hand within the household. The wool came from the family's sheep, spun into yarn, and then woven on a standing loom. This process, from shearing the sheep to sewing the garment, was a long and arduous journey. To simply discard a chiton because it was dirty would be an act of profound waste. A sign of extreme foolishness? The sun, now a warm, honey-colored disk hovering just above the hills, casts long shadows across your courtyard. Your chiton and hymation, still slightly damp but undeniably clean, hang like trophies of your day's long battle with dirt. You've done your best, but as you inspect your work, you notice something that makes you sigh. There, on the hem of your chiton, is a faint but unmistakable brown smudge, the telltale sign of a stray splatter of olive oil from lunch. And on the darker fabric of your hymation, you see a small, glistening stain where a drop of honey must have fallen a few days ago. These are the persistent enemies, the stains that simple wood ash and foot-powered fulling could not vanquish. This is where your ingenuity must kick into a higher gear. Now, as you stand there, considering the grim task ahead, a small yet significant detail comes to mind that you once heard from a traveling trader. You have a small quantity of a fine, chalky clay, a substance that some call fuller's earth. This isn't just any old dirt from the fields. It's a special type of clay with a high percentage of hydrous aluminum silicates. You've been told it can absorb grease and oil from wool, and the trader said it was a closely guarded secret of the professional launderers. The Plautos, who worked for the wealthy. It's a luxury for you to even possess a pinch of it, and you've been saving it for a special occasion. Today, with the state of your chiton, feels like that occasion. Ancient Greeks, were masters of problem solving, especially when it came to everyday annoyances. They didn't have stain sticks or pre-treatment sprays, so they had to rely on a different kind of chemistry, one that was part science and part desperate improvisation. For that greasy, stubborn olive oil stain, there is a specific solution. You have a small, precious lump of a white, chalky substance known as Cretan clay or gypsum. This isn't the common fuller's earth, which is more for general cleaning. This is a special, more absorbent clay, and you have heard it works wonders on oil. You mix a small amount of it with water to form a thick paste and apply it directly to the stain. The paste, a brilliant white against the off-white wool, feels cool and slightly gritty. You leave it there, allowing the clay's absorbent properties to do their work. It's a slow process, but you have learned that in ancient Greece, patience is not just a virtue, it's a survival skill. The walk back to your small home is slow. The bucket of water is heavy, and the sun is beginning to feel hot on your shoulders. You pass by other citizens, some in simple, clean chitons, others in brightly colored, embroidered ones that clearly belong to the wealthy. You notice that some of the more refined garments are made of linen, a far lighter and more breathable fabric than the coarse wool you wear. This brings to mind one of the open academic debates that you've overheard from the local philosophers. Historians still debate whether the chiton was typically made from linen or wool, with evidence pointing to both depending on the region and the wearer's wealth. For you, the answer is simple: wool is what you have, and wool is what you must wash. The idea of a light, flowing linen chiton seems like a fantastical dream, a garment for the gods. You think about the stains that plagued the average Athenian. Olive oil, a staple of their diet and a common ingredient in their beauty routines, was the most common enemy. The food of the gods. You think Riley is a real pain to get out of your clothes. But there were other, more colorful enemies, too. You remember the deep red stains from crushed grapes, the dark splatters from black figs, and the almost impossible to remove splodges of animal blood from a recent sacrifice at the temple. Each stain, required its own unique treatment, a specific kind of alchemy that was passed down through generations. Back in the privacy of your courtyard, you set down the heavy bucket. The courtyard is a small, unpaved space, but it offers a measure of privacy from the prying eyes of the street. You have a large, shallow basin made of terracotta, and you pour the water into it. The cool water is a welcome sight, but it feels so inadequate for the task at hand. Just water alone isn't going to cut it. You have to find a way to get the dirt and the smells out, and that's where the real challenge begins. You begin to unfasten the fibulae on your chiton, and as you do, you remember the promise of a more effective cleaning agent. You remember hearing a joke from a traveling merchant, a man with a wild beard and an even wilder imagination. Why did the Athenian tailor have to wear his tunic with a hole in it? Because it had a bad dye job. The joke is terrible, but it makes you smile. In a world with so many practical problems, a little bit of humor goes a long way. The sun is now a deep orange, and the air is starting to cool. You can hear the distant bleating of a goat, a soft, sleepy sound that lulls you into a state of tired contentment. You think about your chiton's various stains, the oily sheen from cooking, the reddish tint of the clay from the road, and the dark smudges from who knows what. Trying to get this smell out is like trying to convince a cat to take a bath. It's a fight you're probably going to lose, but you have to try. You know that you can't go on smelling like this. The social repercussions would be too great. You would be seen as a man without self-respect, a man who doesn't care about his place in the world, and that's a reputation you simply cannot afford. The honey stain on your hymation is a different kind of problem. It's sugary and sticky, and it has set deep into the dark blue wool. You know that a simple paste of clay won't work here. This requires a different kind of magic, a kind of counterspell to the sweetness. You have a small pot of something you collected from a nearby field saponaria, or soapwort. It's a common plant with a foamy, soap-like root. You mash the root with a little water, creating a thick, frothy liquid. This liquid, contains saponins, natural compounds that act like soap, a rare and precious resource in a world without modern detergents. You carefully dab this liquid onto the honey stain, and you begin to rub it gently with your fingers. The foam is light and airy, and you can feel it dissolving the sticky honey. A sweet-smelling, satisfying transformation. Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time. Not to a grand battle or a philosophical debate, but to a place far more intimate and, frankly, a little stinky. We're going to ancient Greece, a world of marble statues and golden sandals, but one where the simple act of laundry was, well, a truly brutal affair. Imagine you're there, living your life under the Mediterranean sun. You're not a god or a hero, you're just you. And your clothes are not so fresh. This isn't a story of glorious conquest. It's a story of grit, grime, and the surprising things you do to keep from offending your fellow citizens. Spoiler alert if you're a fan of fresh linen scent and clean socks. You probably wouldn't survive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, if you're listening from somewhere around the globe, go ahead and drop your location and local time in the comments. We've got listeners from everywhere, and it's a small little thing we can do to feel connected. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. A fascinating, if slightly gruesome, historical detail comes to mind for particularly stubborn stains, especially blood. The ancient Greeks would sometimes use bile from animals. The bile, you've heard, contained powerful enzymes that could break down proteins and other organic matter. It's a disgusting thought, a final, desperate act of cleaning that speaks to the sheer difficulty of the task. You are grateful that your stains are just oil and honey, and not something so visceral. Your hands, calloused from years of manual labor, begin to work on the garment. You lay it flat in the basin of water, and the murky cloud of dirt and grime begins to billow out from the fabric, turning the clear water a soupy brown. This is just the first step. You know you need something to cut through the grease and the deep-seated odors. Something more powerful than just water and elbow grease. You know that you can't just rely on the fuller's earth alone. You've heard whispers of a more potent cleaning agent, a substance that is both readily available and profoundly unpleasant. The question of whether these methods were truly effective is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the true power of these natural cleaning agents. Did the Cretan clay really work as well as modern stain removers? Did the soapwort truly dissolve a honey stain? Or was it a placebo effect? A simple act of hopeful scrubbing? The truth, you suspect, is a mix of both. These methods, while crude, were a powerful tool in the fight against grime, a way to prolong the life of a valuable garment in a world where new clothes were a luxury. You have heard tales of professional launderers, the fullers, who use a remarkable ingredient to clean clothes. This ingredient is something you've always considered to be waste, but in their hands, it becomes a powerful cleansing agent. They use something that most people would discard without a second thought. You know that you're going to have to make a journey to the public latrine, and from there, you will collect the key ingredient for tonight's monumental laundry task. It's a job you would rather not do, but it's a necessary evil. You can't afford to pay the fullers, so you must do their dirty work for yourself. The sun has finally set, and a soft purple light has replaced the brilliant orange of the afternoon. You look at your garments, now hanging like ghosts in the fading light. The oil stain, while not completely gone, is much fainter, a testament to the power of the Cretan clay. The honey stain has disappeared, a sweet victory thanks to the soapwort. You have done all you can. The long, hard day of laundry is over. You have faced the stains, you have faced the stink, and you have won. You are tired, your hands are raw, and you can feel your eyelids getting heavy. You've earned your rest. You can feel yourself drifting off. The gentle rustling of your clothes and the night breeze a soft, lullaby-like sound. As you stand there in the courtyard, with your chiton soaking in a basin of increasingly brown water, you take a moment to consider the social fabric of your society. Cleanliness isn't just about hygiene, it's about status. While you may have heard of the Fullers and their professional cleaning methods, their services are reserved for the wealthy. They use special, dedicated workshops with large basins and trained slaves. For you, a simple citizen, the courtyard and a basin of water must suffice. You must be your own fuller. You must find your own cleaning agents. The next day dawns, and you are a new man. The stains are gone and the grime is vanquished, and your garments are now, for the first time, in what feels like an eternity, truly clean. But a garment's journey doesn't end with a wash and a rinse. The final steps are as critical as the first, a kind of ceremonial finishing that transforms a simple piece of cloth into a symbol of status and respectability. The sun, a warm and welcome friend, is your primary tool in this next phase. It's a tool that is both simple and profoundly powerful, a natural wonder that the ancient Greeks understood on an almost spiritual level. You know that to get the most out of it, you'll have to be meticulous. You think about the Khitan's journey. It began its life as a sheep's wool, a simple, natural product. It was then shorn, cleaned, spun, and woven. It was then cut and sewn into the simple garment that you now wear. It was a long journey, and it's a journey that you've come to appreciate. This chiton isn't just a piece of fabric, it's a part of you, a part of your identity. To keep it clean is to maintain your place in the world. It's a thankless task, but a necessary one. You have now moved on from your private courtyard to a small, secluded patch of open ground just outside the city walls. This is where you, and many others like you, take the final steps in the laundry process. The air here is cleaner, free from the dust and smells of the city. You have brought your garments, your chiton and your himation, and you carefully lay them out on a patch of sun-drenched grass. They are still slightly damp, and the sun's rays immediately begin to work their magic, pulling the last vestiges of moisture from the wool. This is more than just drying. It's a kind of natural bleaching, a process that relies on the sun's powerful ultraviolet rays to lighten the fabric and give it a fresh, clean look. Clean. The sun is now high in the sky, and you've been at this for a while. Your arms are beginning to ache from the work, and the water is no longer cool. It's warm, brown, and a little slimy. You know that you've done all that you can with just water. Now it's time to move on to the next step, a step that is far less pleasant. You've heard the tales, and you know what you must do. It's time to head to the public latrine, and from there you'll begin the truly gruesome part of your day. This process is so vital that the Fullers, the professional launderers you've heard so much about, had dedicated rooftop areas for this purpose. They would stretch the garments out on frames, a kind of ancient laundry rack, and leave them in the sun for days. This process, they knew, was the key to getting that pristine, brilliant white that was so highly prized by the wealthy. They would also use a special kind of wooden club, a fuller's paddle, to beat the dried garments. A percussive act that would fluff up the wool fibers and make the cloth softer and more luxurious. You don't have a paddle, so you have to make do with your hands. A slow and patient process of fluffing and smoothing the fabric as it dries. Your chiton has been soaking for what feels like an eternity. The stains, however, have not loosened. The smell, while slightly different, is still there. You realize you need something with more power, a substance that can cut through the grime and disinfect the cloth. You have a small basket, and you're going to take it with you on your journey. The basket is for collecting your secret weapon. The thought of it makes you shudder. But you know that it's the only way. You need to get your chiton clean, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. A small joke comes to mind as you work. A little bit of absurdity to lighten the mood. Why did the ancient Greek laundryman get fired? Because he was a little too full of himself. The joke is terrible, but the soft, rhythmic sound of your hands on the fabric and the gentle warmth of the sun makes you feel at peace. This is the meditative part of your day. a moment of quiet contemplation after the chaos of washing. This task is not a simple chore, it is a full-day event, a monumental effort that will test your patience and your stomach. You look at your chiton, a symbol of your life in Athens, and you know that you must not fail. You must keep it clean, even if the methods are less than glorious. You must maintain your dignity, even if the process is profoundly undignified. The final step in this process is the one you've been looking forward to the most. You have a small, smooth, flat stone, a listron, that you've been saving for this purpose. This is your ancient iron, your ancient steamer, your ancient fabric softener. You carefully rub this stone over the chiton, a slow, gentle, back and forth motion that smooths out the wrinkles and gives the fabric a slightly shiny, polished look. It's a small detail, but it's a detail that makes all the difference. A smoothed out chiton, signals a certain level of care and attention to detail. It shows that you are not a slob, that you are a man who takes pride in his appearance, a man who respects himself and his place in the world. The walk to the public latrine is a familiar, if slightly dreaded, one. You pass by other citizens, their faces a mix of solemnity and quiet determination. You all know why you're there. It's a place of necessity, a meeting point of humanity's most basic needs, and in ancient Greece, it's also a source of a most vital commodity. As you approach, the air thickens with a pungent ammoniac smell that, to a modern nose, would be overwhelming. But to you, it's simply the scent of a day's work about to begin. You are not a delicate soul, you are a survivor. You carry your basket with a purposeful stride. A hunter on a very strange kind of safari, this brings to mind a fascinating historical detail. The listron was not just for smoothing. It was also used to full the fabric after it was dried, to further interlock the wool fibers and make the cloth denser and more durable. The professional fullers had a much larger version of this stone, a kind of ancient steamroller that would be heated over a fire and used to press and polish the garments of the wealthy. You are happy with your small and handheld stone. It's enough for you. Once inside the communal latrine, you find a long stone bench with a series of keyhole-shaped openings, each one leading to a channel of running water beneath. There is no privacy, no stalls, only the shared, public act of relieving oneself, often with a good deal of conversation. It's a place where social barriers are lowered, where a wealthy citizen might sit beside a common laborer, both of you contemplating the great mysteries of life and the unfortunate realities of your digestive systems. You take your place, and you wait. The air is cool and damp, and you can hear the constant trickle of water as it flows through the channels below, carrying away the waste of the city. The question of whether these methods were truly effective is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the true power of the listron. Did it really smooth out the wrinkles, or was it a placebo effect, a simple act of rubbing that gave the illusion of a well-pressed garment? Did the sun really bleach the clothes, or was it simply a way to dry them faster? The truth, you suspect, is a mix of both. These methods, while crude, were a powerful tool in the fight against grime, a way to prolong the life of a valuable garment in a world where new clothes were a luxury. Your eyes scan the channels beneath the stone benches, looking for the right kind of donation. You're not just looking for any old thing. What you need is fresh, potent. You're searching for the liquid gold of your trade urine. You wait patiently, perhaps exchanging a few words about the price of grain or the latest news from the assembly, but your true focus is on the steady stream flowing beneath you. It's here that you collect your precious cargo, using a small, well-worn terracotta pot you brought for the purpose. Once it's full, you place it carefully in your basket, along with the small piece of fuller's earth you have been saving. You now have the 2 key ingredients for your laundry day. The sun is now at its peak and your garments are completely dry. The wool is soft and fluffy, and the colors are a little bit brighter. You have done all you can. Your chiton and your himation, now clean and pressed, are ready to be worn again. You have faced the filth, you have faced the stink, and you have won. You are a simple citizen, but you have done the work of a fuller, and you have survived. The sun is warm on your skin, and the rest of the day stretches out before you. You can almost feel yourself drifting off to sleep just thinking about it. As you walk home, you try to ignore the sloshing sound coming from your basket. You think about the science of what you have collected. In a world without modern chemistry, you are a chemist in your own right. Urine, contains urea. When left to stand, the urea breaks down and transforms into ammonia, a powerful alkaline that can act as a natural bleach and stain remover. It's a fact that's been passed down from generation to generation. It's a truth as old as the city itself. You've heard that the professional launderers, the fullers, even had large vats where they would collect urine, allowing it to ripen in the sun until it was at maximum strength. You, however, do not have a vat. You have a pot. It's a small difference, but in ancient Greece, small differences often define your place in the world. Back in your courtyard, you return to your basin of increasingly grimy water, where your chiton has been soaking. The water is thick with dirt, and it's a testament to the life you've been living. You now have to drain this murky water, and you do so by simply tipping the heavy basin over. The water spills out onto the ground, and a thick, muddy paste is left behind in the basin. You now rinse your chiton with fresh water from the well, a quick, perfunctory rinse, and then you are ready for the main event. This is where the magic, if you can call it that, begins. You take your pot of ammonia-rich urine and pour it carefully over your chiton, which you've now laid flat in the empty basin. The smell is immediate and powerful, but you are a man of purpose. You begin to work the garment, kneading the thick wool fabric with your hands and feet. You stand in the basin, your bare feet a powerful tool, stomping and dancing on the garment in a rhythmic, ancient choreography. This is where the term fulling comes from. The act of using your body to agitate the fabric and work the cleansing agent deep into the fibers. You have seen these garments in the agora. They are often made of a finer, lighter wool, or, in the case of the truly wealthy, imported linen. They are a brilliant, pristine white, a color that is almost impossible to achieve with your simple methods. This is because they have been professionally cleaned by the fullers, the artisans who use sulfur to bleach the garments to a blinding white. But it's not just the color that sets them apart. It's the fit, the flow, the way the fabric drapes and moves. These garments are not just functional, they are works of art, a testament to the skill of the weaver and the wealth of the wearer. The urine, combined with the action of your feet, creates a thick, frothy lather. The ammonia is doing its job, cutting through the oils and greases that your hands alone could not touch. You can feel the fabric changing beneath your feet, becoming softer, less stiff. This is where the fuller's earth comes in. You take a small pinch of the chalky clay and sprinkle it over a particularly stubborn stain, a dark spot that you suspect is from the olive oil you were carrying a few days ago. The clay is a miracle worker, a natural stain remover. As you stomp on it, the clay works its way into the fibers, absorbing the oil like a sponge. It's a small, satisfying victory in a day full of unpleasant tasks. The hymation, the cloak that you wear over your chiton, is an even more powerful symbol of status. You think of your own hymation, a simple, dark blue wool. It's warm, it's practical, and it has served you well. But you have seen hymations that are a different kind of animal entirely. You have seen them in a deep, rich purple, a color that is so expensive to produce that only the wealthiest of the wealthy can afford it. This is the famous Tyrian purple, a dye made from the mucus of a specific kind of sea snail. It took thousands of snails to produce enough dye for a single garment, and the color was a direct line to the gods, a symbol of divine power and immense wealth. You remember once seeing a man in an entire hymation of Tyrian purple. He was a sight to behold, a living, walking testament to the power of his family. The work is strenuous, a full-body workout that leaves you sweaty and tired. You have to keep stomping and kneading for a long time, ensuring that every inch of the fabric is fully saturated and agitated. You think about the professional fullers and their large, dedicated workshops. They had special basins, some large enough for 2 people to stand in at once. They had slaves to do this work, and they did it all day. Every day. You, on the other hand, are a one-man show, and you're starting to feel it. Your legs are tired, your back is aching, and the smell? Well, you've become accustomed to it, but you know you're going to need a good, long bath in a moment. A small joke comes to mind as you think about this. Why did the wealthy Athenian get a new hymation? because his old one was getting a little too common. The joke is not very good, but the sentiment behind it is real. The wealthy of ancient Greece were constantly trying to one-up each other, and their clothes were their primary battlefield. A clean, bright white chiton was a statement of respectability, but a perfectly dyed himation was a statement of power. A small joke comes to your mind as you stomp on your chiton. It's like a wine press. But for getting the unvintage smell out of your clothes, you chuckle to yourself, a tired, weary sound that disappears into the afternoon air. The joke, you realize, is a small defense against the absurdity of the situation. This is your life, a life of hard work, a life of simple pleasures, and a life of, well, a lot of urine. This brings to mind a fascinating historical fact. The dyeing of clothes was a highly specialized and secretive craft. The dyers, a different class of artisan from the fullers, had their own workshops and their own guarded secrets. They used a variety of natural dyes, from the madder root for red to the indigo plant for blue. But the purple, the Tyrian purple, was the most prized of them all. It was a color that smelled, you have heard, of the sea. A smell that was both intoxicating and a little bit fishy. A joke you've heard whispered in the agora goes, why did the purple-dyed himation smell like the sea? Because it was a little shellfishy. The joke is terrible. But the thought of a garment that smells of the sea and of wealth is a potent one. You have heard a fascinating, if slightly strange, historical detail about the professional fullers. They had a special device, a large wooden paddle, that they would use to beat the clothes. They called it a fuller's paddle, and it was designed to further agitate the fibers of the wool, ensuring that the cleansing agent penetrated deeply. You, of course, do not have a fuller's paddle. You have your feet. But you imagine the sound of the paddle slapping against the wet cloth, a rhythmic, hypnotic sound that must have filled the fullers' workshops. The question of how much these garments truly dictated a person's social standing is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the nuances of ancient Greek fashion. Was a fine chiton a sign of a respectable life, or a display of inherited wealth? Was a simple homespun wool garment a sign of poverty, or a statement of rugged independence? The truth, you suspect, is a mix of both. But for you, a simple citizen, the sight of a brilliant white chiton and a deep purple himation is a reminder of your place in the world, a world where cleanliness is a luxury, not a given. The question of whether the fullers used more than just urine and clay is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the exact chemical composition of their cleaning agents. Did they add special herbs or volcanic ash? Or was it all just urine and good old-fashioned elbow grease? For you, a simple citizen, the answer is simple. You use what you have, and what you have is your own 2 feet, a bucket of water, and a pot of something you would rather not discuss. You think about your own garments, folded neatly in your small chest. They are not brilliant white, but they are clean. They are not purple, but they are respectable. You have done your best with what you have, and you can hold your head high. You may not be a man of great wealth, but you are a man who respects himself, a man who takes pride in his work, and a man who is not afraid to get his hands dirty. The sun has set, and the stars are beginning to appear in the velvet sky. You can almost feel yourself drifting off to sleep, a deep, tired sleep that is a reward for a long day of honest labor. The final stage of this particular task is the rinsing. You drain the basin once more, and this time, you fill it with a large quantity of fresh, clean water. You spend a long time rinsing the chiton, wringing it out with all your strength. You have to get every last bit of the ammonia out, every last bit of the urine that has served as your soap. The water that you wring out is still a little cloudy, but it is no longer the soupy brown of before. You can see the faint, clean white of the wool returning, and it fills you with a sense of accomplishment. The sun is set, and the stars are beginning to appear in the velvet sky. You've done all you can for your chiton and himation, and they are now clean, pressed, and respectable. But as you look up at the heavens, a sense of wonder and mystery begins to creep in. Your laundry day, so full of hard work and unappealing ingredients, is a story that has been told and retold for centuries. And yet, even with all the details, all the facts, there are still so many unknowns, so many questions that historians still debate. This is the part of the story where we move from the known to the unknown, from the mundane to the mysterious, and we explore the open academic debates that still surround the simple act of laundry in ancient Greece. The chiton is still heavy, waterlogged, and unwieldy, but it is clean. It is no longer stiff, but soft and supple. The smell, while not a fresh linen scent, is no longer the smell of your day-to-day life. It is the clean, earthy smell of wool and water. A smell that you've come to associate with hard work and a job well done. You have won the battle against the grime, and you are ready for the next phase of your day. A phase that involves a lot of sunshine and a little bit of magic. One of the great mysteries of the ancient Fullers is their secret ingredient. While we know they used urine and Fuller's earth, there are hints in the historical record of other substances. Did they add a kind of volcanic ash? A kind of ancient pumice? To increase the abrasiveness of their cleansing agent, did they use special herbs? A kind of ancient fabric softener to give the clothes a pleasant scent? Or was the secret simply the massive scale of their operations, the sheer unrelenting force of their human-powered laundry line? The truth, you suspect, is lost to the sands of time. It's a question that historians have debated for centuries, and it's a question that may never be answered. It's a reminder that even in the most mundane of tasks, there are secrets that lie just beneath the surface. Your chiton, now clean but still dripping wet, hangs heavily over your arm. You've won the battle, but the war is far from over. The real work of drying, pressing, and restoring the garment to its former glory lies ahead. But for now, you stand in your courtyard, exhausted, your feet aching from the rhythmic dance of fulling. The lingering smell of ammonia and wet wool is still in the air, a pungent but strangely satisfying perfume of your hard labor. You have done the work of a professional fuller, but on a much smaller and far less luxurious scale. Another open academic debate is the social status of the fullers themselves. Were they a respected class of artisans, or were they considered a lower class, untouchable group of workers who dealt with the filth of the city? The historical record is a bit muddy on this point. On the one hand, they were an essential part of the economy, a kind of necessary evil. On the other hand, their trade was considered dirty and smelly, and they were often relegated to the outskirts of the city. Their trade was a hereditary one, passed down from father to son, and they often lived in the same neighborhoods, a kind of ancient guild of filth and cleanliness. It's a question that still haunts the historical record, a reminder that even in the most organized of societies, there are social fault lines that run deep. You think about the fullers, the graphias, the men who do this for a living. You have seen their workshops down by the river, a place where the air is always thick with the unique, sour scent of their trade. These are not simple citizens like you, making do with a terracotta pot and a basin. These are artisans, a specialized class of workers who have turned a disgusting necessity into a respected profession. As you carry your dripping chiton to a sunny patch of ground, you have a renewed, if slightly begrudging, respect for their back-breaking work. You wonder about the wealthy citizens who can afford their services. They simply drop off their soiled garments and return days later to pick up a chiton that is not just clean, but transformed. A small joke comes to mind as you think about this. Why did the ancient Greek fuller never get invited to dinner parties? Because he always brought a stain to the conversation. The joke is terrible, but the sentiment behind it is real. The fullers were a class of workers who were both essential and despised, a kind of necessary evil that the city could not live without. You remember the crocodile dung sunscreen that you used to use, and you think that maybe, just maybe, you're not so different from the fullers after all. You are a man who is not afraid to get his hands dirty for the sake of cleanliness. The fuller's workshop is a world away from your humble courtyard. It is a large, open-air structure, often with a roof to protect the workers from the harsh Athenian sun, but open on all sides for ventilation. Inside, there are large, purpose-built stone vats, much larger than your simple basin. These vats are often arranged in a row, a kind of ancient assembly line of filth and cleanliness. The fullers stand in these vats, sometimes two at a time, stomping and kneading the heavy wool garments. It's a job that requires not just strength, but stamina. They are the original spin cycle, a human-powered washing machine that never stops. The question of whether the himation was a symbol of rugged independence or inherited wealth is another one of these open debates. The historical record is full of contradictory evidence. On the one hand, a simple, undyed wool hymation might be a sign of a philosopher's rejection of material possessions. On the other hand, a beautifully dyed, intricately woven hymation was a symbol of immense wealth. The truth, you suspect, is a mix of both. The hymation was a garment that could be anything you wanted it to be. It was a blank canvas, a piece of fabric that could be a symbol of your ideals or a symbol of your wealth. It's a reminder that even in the most mundane of garments, there are layers of meaning that can be read by those who know how to look. Your chiton and hymation, now completely dry and smoothed, are folded and put away. You have won this battle with grit and grime. But as you reflect on your triumph, a different kind of reality comes into focus. The world of ancient Greece is not just a world of simple chitons and homemade lye. It is a world of incredible wealth and deep poverty. A world where the cleanliness of your clothes is a direct reflection of your place in society. The chiton of a common citizen like you, while clean, is a far cry from the immaculate, often intricately dyed garments of the elite. This is a story not just about laundry, but about social status, about the visible and invisible lines that divide one person from another. The sun has now completely disappeared, and the night sky is a beautiful tapestry of stars. You have done all you can for your chiton and hymation, and they are now clean, pressed, and respectable. But as you look up at the heavens, a sense of wonder and mystery begins to creep in. Your laundry day, so full of hard work and unappealing ingredients, is a story that has been told and retold for centuries. And yet, even with all the details, all the facts, there are still so many unknowns, so many questions that historians still debate. This is the part of the story where we move from the known to the unknown, from the mundane to the mysterious, and we explore the open academic debates that still surround the simple act of laundry in ancient Greece. A small joke comes to mind. Why did the ancient Greek refuse to drink the fuller's wine? Because it was too full of character. You almost drop your chiton laughing at the absurdity of it all. You are tired, you are sweaty, and you are surrounded by the smells of your day's labor. You are a man of simple needs, but in this moment, you are a man who appreciates a good joke, no matter how bad. This brings to mind a fascinating historical fact: the public baths of Athens. While a place for bathing, were not a place for laundry. The two activities were considered separate and distinct. The baths were for personal hygiene, a place for a man to wash away the sweat and grime of the day. The fulling workshops, on the other hand, were for clothes, a place where a man could send his garments to be professionally cleaned. It's a distinction that seems strange to us today, but in ancient Greece it made perfect sense. You would never mix the two activities, a clear sign of the social and physical divide between the body and the clothes that covered it. The fuller's process, is more than just stomping and kneading. They use the same basic ingredients urine and fuller's earth, but they apply them with a skilled hand. They know exactly how much to add, when to add it, and for how long to agitate the fabric. They are masters of their craft, and their mastery comes from a deep understanding of the wool itself. They know that the stomping and kneading does more than just clean. It also causes the tiny scales on the wool fibers to interlock, a process known as felting. This makes the cloth denser, thicker, and more resistant to wear. It is this felting that gives the fullers their name and their reputation. They are not just launderers, they are textile artisans. The question of whether the ancient Greek laundry methods were truly effective is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the true power of these natural cleaning agents. Did the Cretan clay really work as well as modern stain removers? Did the soapwort truly dissolve a honey stain? Or was it a placebo effect? A simple act of hopeful scrubbing? The truth, you suspect, is a mix of both. These methods, while crude, were a powerful tool in the fight against grime. A way to prolong the life of a valuable garment in a world where new clothes were a luxury. You've heard a particularly fascinating and slightly disturbing historical detail about the fuller's tools. While you only had your feet, they had a variety of wooden implements designed for maximum agitation. The fuller's paddle was a wide, flat wooden club that they would use to beat the clothes. A rhythmic thumping that would echo through the workshop. They also had a large, heavy stone, a fuller's stone, that they would use to rub stubborn stains. It was a violent process, a war waged against dirt and grime, and the fullers were the soldiers. The sun has now completely disappeared, and the night sky is a beautiful tapestry of stars. You have done all you can for your chiton and hymation, and they are now clean, pressed, and respectable. But as you look up at the heavens, a sense of wonder and mystery begins to creep in. Your laundry day, so full of hard work and unappealing ingredients, is a story that has been told and retold for centuries. And yet, even with all the details, all the facts, there are still so many unknowns, so many questions that historians still debate. This is the part of the story where we move from the known to the unknown, from the mundane to the mysterious, and we explore the open academic debates that still surround the simple act of laundry in ancient Greece. The question of whether the fuller's methods were truly superior to yours is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about the exact chemical properties of their secret ingredients. Did they add a type of volcanic ash to increase the abrasiveness? Did they use special herbs for a pleasant scent? Or was their secret simply the massive scale of their operations, the sheer, unrelenting force of their human-powered laundry line? The truth, you suspect, is somewhere in the middle. Their secret was a combination of scale, specialized tools, and a deep, intuitive knowledge of their craft. The night deepens, and the stars in the Athenian sky seem to grow brighter. You've come a long way from the stinky, unwashed chiton of yesterday morning. Your garments are now clean, pressed, and respectable, and you have a new appreciation for the simple act of laundry. But as you prepare to drift off to sleep, a final thought comes to mind. Your journey through the world of ancient Greek laundry is a story of grit and grime, but it's also a story of ingenuity, of problem solving, and of a life that is so different from your own. This final chapter is a chance for us to reflect on that difference, to compare your day's work with the world you know, and to say goodbye to the ancient Greek world. As you hang your wet chiton on a low-hanging branch to dry, you can't help but think about the final step of the fuller's process. After the grueling work of washing and fulling, the clothes had to be dried. But they didn't just hang them in the sun like you were doing. They would often take the garments to a special room, where they would be hung over a fire of sulfur. The burning sulfur would release sulfur dioxide gas, which would act as a powerful bleaching agent. This is how the wealthy citizens' chitons would return a brilliant, pristine white. It's a method that is both brilliant and, frankly, a little dangerous. You can only imagine the smell of the sulfur, an acrid, eye-watering cloud of noxious gas. The fullers, you realize, were not just hard workers. They were brave souls, facing a constant risk of asphyxiation for the sake of a brighter chiton. You are happy to let your chiton dry the old-fashioned way, in the sun. You think about your own world. The world you left behind for this journey. You think about the modern laundromat, a place of bright lights, humming machines, and the sweet, artificial scent of laundry detergent. You think about the convenience of a washing machine, a machine that does all the work for you. You simply press a few buttons, and the machine fills itself with water, adds the detergent, tumbles the clothes, and then spins them dry. It's a miracle of modern technology, a far cry from the back-breaking, stomach-churning work you just endured. You remember the bleach, a powerful chemical that can turn a garment a brilliant white in a matter of minutes. You remember the fabric softener, a liquid that can make your clothes feel soft and smell fresh. It's a world of convenience, a world where cleanliness is not a luxury, but a given. The drying process is a slow one. The heavy wool soaks up a lot of water, and it will take all day for the sun to work its magic. As your chiton hangs there, dripping slowly, you can see the results of your labor. The yellowed patina is gone, replaced by a much cleaner, though not pristine, white. The fabric is softer and less stiff. It's not the bright, bleached white of the wealthy, but it is clean. It is respectable. It is enough. A small joke comes to mind as you think about this. Why did the ancient Greek laundryman get so much exercise because he was a pro at full-body workouts? The joke is terrible, but it's a reminder of the physical toll that laundry took on the ancient Greeks. You think about the professional fullers, the men who spent their days stomping on clothes, and you have a new respect for their stamina and their strength. They were not just launderers, they were athletes, a kind of ancient bodybuilder who got their workout from a vat of urine. It's a thought that is both hilarious and a little bit gross. Your hymation, the heavy wool cloak you wear over your chiton, also needs attention. but it is not a garment you can just stomp on. It is heavier, larger, and far more valuable. You would never risk the integrity of such a vital piece of clothing. For this, you would have to use a different method. But that is a story for another night. For now, you watch your chiton sway gently in the afternoon breeze, and you know that you have done all that you can. You are a simple citizen, but you have done the work of a fuller, and you have survived. The sun is warm on your skin, and the rest of the day stretches out before you. You can almost feel yourself drifting off to sleep just thinking about it. This brings to mind a fascinating historical fact. The ancient Greeks were not alone in their methods. In fact, many cultures around the world used a similar process. The Romans, used a similar process of fulling. And they even had public latrines where they collected urine for the professional launderers. The process of using lye from wood ash to clean clothes was also a common practice in many parts of the world. It's a reminder that ingenuity is not a modern invention. It's a human trait that has been with us since the beginning of time. As your freshly washed chiton sways on the branch, a gentle breeze rustling its damp fibers, you feel a moment of quiet peace. But this peace is fleeting. You look at your other garments, the ones that you couldn't stomp on with your feet. There's your himation, the heavy wool cloak you wear for warmth and dignity, now looking a little worse for wear. There are also a few smaller linen garments, simple wraps you use for various purposes that are in desperate need of attention. You can't use the same brutal, foot-powered method on these more delicate items. Your own chiton is durable, a workhorse of a garment, but the rest require a gentler, more careful hand. This is where your at-home laundry routine diverges from the professional fuller's workshop. You are not a full-scale operation. You are a single person with a limited set of tools and a lot of ingenuity. The question of whether we are truly cleaner than the ancient Greeks is an open academic debate. Historians still argue about this. Are we truly cleaner? Or do we just have a different set of smells? Do we have a new set of problems, a new set of stains, and a new set of cleaning agents? The truth you suspect is a mix of both. We have replaced the smell of urine and wood ash with the smell of laundry detergent and fabric softener. We have replaced the stains of olive oil and honey with the stains of coffee and wine. We have replaced the back-breaking work of fulling with the push of a button. We are a different kind of clean, but we are not necessarily a better kind of clean. You turn your attention to a large, unglazed ceramic pot sitting in a corner of your courtyard. This pot, a simple utilitarian vessel, is your household's washing machine, and it's where the second part of your laundry day will take place. This method, is the most common way for a normal Athenian citizen like yourself to clean smaller, less heavily soiled items. You'll use something that is always in abundant supply: wood ash. You've been saving the ash from your hearth for this very purpose, a fine gray powder that has a surprising hidden power. You scoop a generous amount of this ash into the ceramic pot, and you begin to pour water from your well over it. As the water filters through the ash, it leaches out the lye, a potent alkaline that acts as a natural cleaning agent. This concoction, a gray, slightly slimy liquid, is known as lixivium, and it's your go-to for home cleaning. The moon is now high in the sky, and you can see your chiton and himation hanging on the branch, a ghostly reminder of your journey. They are clean, they are pressed, and they are ready to be worn again. You have done all you can. Your journey through the world of ancient Greek laundry is over. You have faced the filth, you have faced the stink, and you have won. You have a new appreciation for the simple things in life, for the push of a button, for the smell of fresh linen. You're tired, your hands are raw, and you can feel your eyelids getting heavy. You've earned your rest. You can feel yourself drifting off to sleep. A deep, tired sleep that is a reward for a long day of honest labor. The himation. Your most valuable garment after your chiton is too heavy and precious to risk any harsh treatment. It's made of a finer wool and is dyed a dark, rich blue, a color that would be ruined by the bleaching effects of the sulfur fumes the fullers use. You wouldn't want to mess up that beautiful blue, a color that makes you feel a little bit more important when you walk through the agora. Instead of stomping, you will use a gentler technique. You carefully submerge the himation in the lixivium, using a stick to push it down and make sure every part is saturated. You let it soak for a long time. The powerful lye doing the heavy lifting for you. You can almost feel the dirt and grime loosening from the fibers. A silent chemical war being waged in the pot. The night is quiet now. The city's sounds muffled and distant, and you are surrounded by the soft, peaceful hum of the world at rest. The image of the clean chiton hanging in the cool night air is the last thing on your mind. A final, calming memory of a journey well traveled. The scent of wood and damp earth replaces the pungent smells of the day. A natural, soothing perfume. You let go of the day's toil, the aches and the efforts fading into a gentle warmth that spreads through your body. The world outside grows dark and still, and you sink deeper and deeper into the quiet stillness, your breathing slowing to a soft, even rhythm, carried away on the tide of a deep and peaceful sleep. Good night. This process is a lot less labor intensive than the fulling of your chiton, but it is not without its own challenges. You have to monitor the pot carefully, making sure the hymation is fully submerged and the lixivium is doing its job. You have to keep it in a sunny spot, allowing the heat of the sun to accelerate the cleaning process. This brings to mind a fascinating historical fact. The lixivium, while a potent cleaning agent, was also a powerful corrosive. You have to handle it with care, and you have to rinse the garments thoroughly, or the lye will eat away at the fibers, leaving your clothes full of holes. It's a delicate balance, a constant negotiation between cleaning and destroying,